Multitasking doesn't actually mean doing more. It means doing less of everything faster with more effort and more mistakes. I've watched brilliant writers, people with amazing stories to tell and the courage to tell them, chip away at their work in stolen fragments. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, constantly interrupted, constantly context switching. And then wondering why the draft isn't coming together, why the words feel hollow. Hey, friend. Welcome back to Your Right Life Coach, the podcast for heart-led authors who are ready for motivation and momentum. I'm Alice Kreider, your Right Life Coach, and I'm so glad you carved out a little time today to be here. Before we get started, I want to say something. Right now, in this moment, you're doing the thing. You showed up. You pressed play. Maybe it's during your morning walk, or you're folded into your car in the school pickup line, or you snuck in your earbuds while the laundry is going. Wherever you are, you chose to pour something into yourself today, and I love that about you. Now, let's talk about multitasking. I know, you might be multitasking right now, and I'm not here to shame you, I promise. But I am here to have a real conversation about something that used to be considered a superpower and has since turned out to be a bit of a myth. Today's episode is called The Myth of Multitasking, and if you've ever felt like you were spinning 8 plates at once and still somehow getting nothing done, this one's for you. Let's do this. I want to take you back about 20 years, maybe a little bit more. I was putting together a resume for a job in book publishing. I remember sitting at my kitchen table, going through the checklist of skills that were considered desirable back then. Organized, check. Detail-oriented? Oh yeah. Strong communicator? Yes. And then I got to multitasking. Multitasking, oh yeah, that one felt like mine. I had raised 4 kids. I had cooked dinner while I was holding a baby on my hip. I had homeschooled while simultaneously fielding phone calls and managing a household that never seemed to stop moving. I had even, and this is true, I had managed all of this with my right leg in a cast at one point. That's a story for another time, though. But the point is, I thought multitasking was my gift, my badge of honor, the thing that set me apart from someone who could only handle one task at a time like an amateur. So I put it on my resume, proudly. And here's what happened. It worked. In the short term, I got the job. But what I didn't realize then is that framing myself that way, as someone who thrives in the chaos of doing everything at once, actually pigeonholed me into roles that weren't the best fit. Roles that kept me perpetually busy, perpetually reactive, perpetually moving, without ever really feeling like I was moving forward. I didn't understand it at the time. I just knew I had to keep all the plates spinning like my life depended on it. It wasn't until years later, working with authors, reading their manuscripts, and seeing their creative blocks and their very real exhaustion, that I started to see the pattern. And then I saw it in myself. Multitasking doesn't actually mean doing more. It means doing less of everything faster with more effort and more mistakes. I've watched brilliant writers, people with amazing stories to tell and the courage to tell them, chip away at their work in stolen fragments. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, constantly interrupted, constantly context switching. And then wondering why the draft isn't coming together, why the words feel hollow, why they sit down to write and the well feels dry. Friend, the well isn't dry. Your attention is just fractured. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because this is not a productivity conversation. For heart-led authors, for people writing from a place of purpose and calling, the way you protect your attention is actually the way you protect your work. Which brings me to what I want you to take away from this episode. Here's what I've been noticing and what the research has really started to confirm. Most of us don't multitask. What we actually do is task switch. Try saying that 10 times fast. It's a tongue twister. We move from one thing to another so quickly that it feels like we're doing them at the same time, but we're not. And every single switch costs us something. Let me walk you through a few of the ways this shows up, especially for writers. The first thing I want you to understand is that your brain is not designed to do 2 things at once. Now, of course, you can walk and talk at the same time, But that's because one of those things is largely automatic. Walking doesn't require cognitive engagement after a certain point. But writing, editing, thinking deeply about your message, your character, or your argument, that requires something different. It requires presence. When you're trying to write while also monitoring your notifications or compose a meaningful paragraph while half listening to something in the background, your brain is not doing both things. It's switching back and forth between them rapidly, and every switch costs mental energy. Think of it like this. Imagine you're driving in heavy traffic and you keep changing lanes. You might eventually get to your destination, but it takes longer. It's more exhausting. And honestly, the risk of an accident goes up considerably. That's task switching. That's what most people call multitasking. The second thing I want to say to you is something that I see across the board in the writers I work with. Multitasking doesn't just slow you down, it changes the quality of your work. For creative work especially, you need something called sustained focus. Deep attention, the kind where ideas start to connect in ways you didn't plan, where a line surprises you, where you write something and think, oh, that's it. That's the thing. That moment cannot happen in a fragmented window of attention. It needs time. It needs stillness. It needs you to be fully present. When your attention is divided, you're more likely to miss errors. You lose your train of thought, and you settle for the first idea that comes instead of the third or fourth one, which is often the good one. You end up needing more revisions later because your best self wasn't fully in the room when you wrote the draft. To be clear, multitasking doesn't create more work for you because you're not talented enough. It creates more work because your brain literally didn't have the bandwidth to do the best work the first time. The third thing is one that doesn't get talked about enough, and it might be the one that resonates most with you. Multitasking steals the joy from the moment. When you're splitting your attention, you're never fully anywhere. You're not fully with your work. You're not fully with your family when you're home. You're not fully resting when you take a break. You're not fully serving your readers when you write. You end up feeling like you're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. And for authors who are writing from a place of meaning, from a place of calling, that disconnection matters. Because writing at its core is presence. It's showing up fully to what you're trying to say. When you're fractured, your readers can feel it, not always consciously, but they do feel it. There's a psychologist with a name I cannot pronounce. It'll be in the show notes. But he coined the term flow. That state where ideas connect naturally and time seems to disappear. Where you look up and an hour has passed and the page is full and you feel alive. That's flow. Writers know this state. Editors know it. And creatives of every kind know it. Flow cannot happen in fragmented attention. Every interruption breaks the thread, and when you break it enough times, you stop believing you can access it at all. So here's what I want to offer you instead. It's not a complicated strategy. It's actually a return to something simpler. Single tasking. One thing at a time, full attention, real presence. What does that look like in practice? A few things I've seen work beautifully, especially for writers. First, work in focused blocks of time. Even 30 minutes of real, uninterrupted focus can produce more meaningful work than 2 hours of fragmented attention. Give yourself permission to close the tabs, silence the phone, and just write. Second, turn off notifications during your writing sessions. All of them. The world will not end. And the words you protect in that window might be the ones that change someone else's world. Third, batch similar tasks together. If you have emails to answer them in a batch. If you have social media to attend to, give it a window. Don't let those things bleed into your creative time. They're a different kind of thinking. Keep them separate. And fourth, this one is my personal favorite, take intentional breaks between activities. Don't rush from one thing to the next. Give yourself a moment to close out of one mental space before you open another. It sounds small, but it makes a real difference. The goal here is not to do less. The goal is to give your full self to one thing at a time. And here's the gift in that. An hour of true focus often produces more meaningful work than 3 hours of scattered effort. You already know this. You've probably felt it. That morning when the house was quiet and you sat down and wrote something that surprised you? That's not luck. That's what your brain can do when you give it the conditions it needs. And this is where I want to speak to something that I think is really underneath all of this for many authors. The pressure to multitask, to always be producing, to answer immediately, to keep all the plates spinning, that pressure often comes from a fear that if you slow down, you'll fall behind, that the window will close, and that you're not doing enough. But here's what I know to be true. I've said it before, and you'll probably hear me say it again. The authors who publish with the most impact aren't the ones who hustle the hardest. They're the ones who get aligned, and alignment requires presence. It requires focus. It requires giving your full self to the work that actually matters. Momentum doesn't come from doing everything at once. It comes from doing the right thing, your whole attention, over and over again. So here's your invitation for this week, and I want to keep this simple because simple is sustainable. Pick one writing session, just one, and protect it completely. Before you sit down, close the tabs. Silence your phone, put it in another room, or flip it face down. Let the people in your household know you need an uninterrupted window, and then give that session your full, undivided attention. That's it. Just that one experiment. Notice what it feels like. Notice what you produce. I think you might surprise yourself. And if you want to experience this with a community around you, I want to tell you about something we do inside the Inkwell Collective that has become one of my favorite things we offer. We have regular writing sprints. We get together on Zoom, usually several of us, and we write for an hour. We write like the wind in 15-minute segments. No multitasking, just presence and pages. And every single time when we come back together afterward, people are amazed, not just at how much they got done, but how good it all felt. That's what focused communal attention can produce. That's what's possible when you protect your creative space alongside people who understand why it matters. If that sounds like your kind of people, it probably is. The Inkwell Collective is a community built on authenticity and momentum, not hustle, not noise, just heart-led authors showing up for their work and for each other. You can find the link to join us in the show notes. And if you're finding that time and energy management is a deeper struggle, if this episode hit something real and you want to dig into it with some real effort, I do offer one-on-one coaching. You can reach me at admin@alicekreider.com or find out more at alicekreider.com. That link is in the show notes too. If this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you would hit subscribe wherever you're listening. New episodes are coming, and I don't want you to miss any of them. Also, if you have a friend who's a writer, someone who's been living in the chaos of trying to do it all at once, send them this episode. It might be just what they need to hear. And hey, if this episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor? Leave a review wherever you're listening. It only takes a minute, and I read every one. It also helps other heart-led authors find this podcast. You've got a story worth telling and a message to deliver, and the world needs you to show up fully to tell it. Not fractured, not frantic, but present, focused, yourself. I'm so glad you're here, and I'll see you in the next episode.